The first light of dawn slowly entered the abandoned mansion, but peace never arrived. Ateş, Karahan, and Mercan Yildirim stood silently in front of the hidden wall covered with old photographs. Every picture seemed to hold another unanswered question. Mercan looked at Ateş. "We are getting closer to the truth, but I feel someone wants us to see only part of it." Ateş nodded. "The real answers are still hidden." Meanwhile, Asli Taner and Semel Alatli carefully examined the files they had collected. One document contained an old property map with several locations marked in red. Semel pointed to one of them. "This warehouse belonged to the Karahan family years ago." Asli replied, "Then that's where we should start." At the Keziroglu mansion, Nizar Keziroglu received a mysterious envelope with no sender's name. Inside was a single photograph showing Ateş and Mercan standing together outside the abandoned estate. Nizar smiled. "They've taken exactly the path I expected." But his confidence disappeared when he turned the photograph over. A short message was written on the back. "Someone is watching you too." For the first time, Nizar realized he was no longer controlling the game. Later that evening, Ateş and Mercan arrived at the old warehouse. The building had been abandoned for years, yet the main entrance was unlocked. Inside, they found rows of dusty shelves, broken furniture, and a large steel cabinet. Mercan noticed strange symbols carved into the floor. These marks weren't made recently. Ateş carefully opened the cabinet. Inside were old voice recordings, family documents, and a small wooden box. The box contained an antique compass. Attached to it was a handwritten note. "Only those who trust each other will find the final path." Mercan smiled softly. "Looks like this journey was never meant for one person." Before Ateş could answer, footsteps echoed through the warehouse. Someone else had entered. At the same moment, Asli and Semel discovered that one imper. The warehouse doors slammed shut with a deafening sound. Ateş immediately ran toward the entrance, but it refused to open. "We're locked in," he said. Mercan remained calm despite the fear in her eyes. "If someone trapped us here, then they want us to find something." The moment the alarm echoed through the warehouse, the entire structure seemed to come alive. Metal walls vibrated, and the red warning lights pulsed like a heartbeat. Ateş tightened his grip on the envelope. "This is not just a warning. It's a trigger," he said. Mercan looked around carefully. "Whatever game this is, we just stepped into its final phase." Suddenly, the warehouse doors that had been locked earlier unlocked on their own with a heavy mechanical sound. But instead of freedom, darkness waited outside. Ateş slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a single photograph. It showed him standing in front of the same warehouse, but the date written on it was from tomorrow. "This is impossible," Ateş whispered. Mercan leaned closer, her expression tense. "Someone is predicting our moves or controlling them." At that moment, Asli Taner called Ateş through the emergency radio channel. "Ateş, get out of there immediately. The file we recovered, it wasn't just stolen. It was planted." Ateş froze. "What do you mean planted?" Semel's voice came through next, serious and low. "It contains coordinates, and your name is listed as the final target." Inside Nizar Keziroglu's office, the situation escalated. Demet discovered a hidden compartment behind the bookshelf. Inside was a second recording device identical to the one in the warehouse. Nizar's face darkened. "So they've been inside my system longer than I thought." Demet pressed play. A distorted voice echoed. "The pieces are moving exactly as planned. Ateş is now isolated. Mercan is the key, and Nizar will soon realize he was never the player. Only a piece." Nizar clenched his fist. "Find out who is controlling this, now." Back in the warehouse, the lights suddenly shut off completely. Silence fell. Then Mercan whispered, "Ateş, someone is inside with us." A faint sound of breathing came from the darkness. Slowly, a figure stepped forward, but this time, it was not A. The red warning lights continued flashing throughout the warehouse. Ateş and Mercan carefully moved toward a narrow hallway that had suddenly appeared behind the storage room. Mercan looked at Ateş. "Do you really think the answers are waiting for us here?" Ateş replied confidently. "Every clue has brought us closer to the truth. We can't stop now." Meanwhile, Asli Taner and Semel Alatli discovered a hidden message inside the missing file. It contained the coordinates of an old railway station that had been abandoned for decades. Semel frowned. "Why would someone hide such an important clue there?" Asli answered, "Because nobody would think of looking there." At the Keziroglu mansion, Nizar became furious after learning that Ateş had escaped another trap. He turned to Demet Keziroglu. Every time I think I've cornered him, he finds another way out. Demet calmly replied, maybe you're fighting the wrong battle, Nizar. Sometimes the truth is stronger than fear. Back in the warehouse, Ateş used the antique compass they had found earlier. To his surprise, the compass needle pointed toward a steel door hidden behind old wooden crates. Mercan whispered, this wasn't here before. Together, they pushed the heavy crates aside and opened the door. Inside was a narrow passage leading to an underground control room. Old monitors covered the walls. Most of the screens were broken, but one was still working. As the screen flickered to life, a recorded video began to play. A familiar face appeared. The person looked directly into the camera and said, Ateş, if you're watching this, it means you've reached the place I could never escape from. Ateş stared at the screen in disbelief. Mercan noticed tears forming in his eyes. You know this person? Ateş nodded slowly. I thought I had lost them forever. Suddenly, the video cut off. The room became silent. Then a hidden drawer slid open beneath the monitor. Inside was a single key and another handwritten message. The words "The countdown has begun" echoed through the underground control room. Every monitor suddenly went black, leaving Ateş and Mercan surrounded by complete silence. Ateş picked up the old key from the drawer and held it tightly. This key isn't just opening a door, it's opening the past. Mercan looked at him with determination. Then we'll face that past together. At the same time, Asli Taner and Simul Alatli arrived at the abandoned railway station after decoding the coordinates from the hidden file. The station had been deserted for years, but fresh footprints on the platform proved that someone had visited it recently. Simul whispered, we're not the first ones here. Meanwhile, Nizar Keziroglu received an unexpected phone call. The mysterious caller said only one sentence. The game is no longer yours, Nizar. Before Nizar could respond, the call ended. For the first time, fear appeared on his face. Back at the warehouse, Ateş and Mercan followed the map hidden inside the key's case. It led them through a narrow underground tunnel connected directly to the old railway station. When they reached the station, they found Asli and Simul already waiting. Before anyone could speak, the sound of an approaching train echoed through the empty station. Mercan looked at the tracks in surprise. That's impossible. This railway has been closed for years. A few moments later, an old black train slowly entered the station and stopped in front of them. Its doors opened automatically. No passengers, no driver, only a single envelope resting on one of the seats. Ateş stepped inside and picked it up. The envelope contained 4 old photographs. One showed Ateş as a child. Another showed Mercan with her family. The third showed Nizar standing beside someone whose face had been